You're tuned into the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast, brought to you by Zeno Pucks. Here are your hosts, Andy and Brian Matusi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. Andy and Brian here with you. I'm just going to address the elephant in the room right out of the gate. We did not record last weekend, and if you recall, that's because Brian had mentioned previously that he was moving. So that move is completed, and we are ready to record and pick right back up where we left off, which was with Jeff Rimmer on our last episode. And I don't know how we're going to top that, but here we go. Brian, how's it feel being moved in, settled in?
Settled in is a very suggestive term. We still got plenty of boxes to unpack, my wife and I, over the next little bit here. Further made more difficult by the fact that I have a work trip coming up too. So that'll be fun. But the most important part is we are into our new place. So the stressful part's done now. It's just a matter of unpacking our life into it so we can live like normal. But we're here, and as you said, I don't know how we plan to top our show that we had with Jeff a couple weeks ago. I don't think that we can, but it's going to be still a lot of fun, and it's good to be back. I didn't like not recording last week, but again, life keeps us all busy from time to time. But with that being said, we do have quite a few things we can address today. There were some things that I wanted to address had we done a show last week, but none of it I felt was super relevant enough. The only one that I do want to get, even though it was older news, I hadn't seen any updates on this, but the fan that fell at the Pittsburgh Penguins game, that fell from the upper concourse celebrating a goal, the last I saw was that fan was still in critical condition. I have not seen any updates since. So just obviously keeping our thoughts with the family and that individual as well, but definitely a scary scene. And all the more reason, those of you who sit in those front rows of those upper bowls in the arenas, please be careful. Stadiums, arenas, doesn't matter where you are. Please be careful when you're jumping up to celebrate. Be aware of your surroundings. Watch out for trip hazards. I mean, God, we never want to see anything like this again.
Yeah. And I don't know the underlying circumstances as to how it happened, other than they jumped up celebrating a goal. But either way, I echo what Brian said. Be aware of your surroundings. Watch what you're doing. Nobody wants to see this happen.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Another thing that happened that was a little bit further back, but definitely one we can't miss on is Brad Marchand makes his triumphant return to Boston as a member, not of the Bruins this time, but of course with the Florida Panthers. Gets an all-time outstanding ovation from the Bruins fans. You felt the emotion in that building 100%. Brad Marchand, of course, played parts of, I believe it was 15 seasons with the Bruins. 14 seasons, I believe it was, with the Bruins, and of course won a Stanley Cup in 2011 with them. And well loved by the city of Boston. Obviously, the trade last season was crushing for the fan base. For Brad, of course, it pays off as he wins the Stanley Cup with the Panthers and is continuing to find success with the Panthers organization. But super emotional return. Andrew, you're a fan of, well, you care for both teams, but you're a fan of the Panthers. What was it like watching that live?
It was honestly exactly what I expected. From a standpoint of just a hockey fan, I mean, most hockey fans don't like Brad Marchand, but I, as someone who's played for both of my teams, I don't know. It was hard not to get choked up watching it, and obviously he couldn't help but get choked up either, or bawl his eyes out, I guess. It was extremely emotional, but it's really cool to see how big of an impact, just one guy can have on an organization, on an entire city, and just to see how, I want to take away the fact of how warm the welcome back was. I mean, even when he got traded to Florida, all the Bruins fans got behind him and said, "Yeah, go get the cup, man. That's what we want for you." So I want to commend the city of Boston and the Boston Bruins fans and the organization supporting Marshy. And again, like I said, it just shows how much one person can mean to an entire organization. And I think Brad Marchand is a textbook definition of that. And I think it's still showing for him in Florida right now too, because he's adored down there. But that was probably one of the best standing ovations I've seen in the game of hockey. So real nice to see.
Yeah, definitely pretty cool. And again, as the cheers and applause grew, so did his emotion. And I mean, there was no hiding it. That's a guy whose heart bleeds for that city, and definitely a kind of a cool moment there, whether you like the guy or not. So that was definitely fun to see. So hey, we're everybody's over 10 games into this season now. We're starting to get a good sample size of what some teams are looking like out of the gate. So I especially since we missed last week's show, I think this is a kind of a golden opportunity for us to talk about the best and the worst teams in the league and kind of talk about some of the surprises we've seen in the infancy of this season. So
and there have been some surprises.
There have been plenty of them. So we'll start with the top 5 teams in the league right now, which are Colorado, Winnipeg, New Jersey, Montreal, and Pittsburgh. I think 2 things are surprising about this for me. First of all, the fact that Colorado is in first place despite 6 teams below them having more wins than they do. Colorado 7-1-5. So as we call it in the normal sports world, 7-6. But those OT points stack up and it puts them in first place. Colorado is, for as good as they are, obviously has struggled to close games out in the extra session. And it's something that they're going to have to address moving forward and get better at if they're going to sustain any success this season. Obviously, they're a very talented team, but there's really just being as elite as they are, there's no excuse for not being able to close out, at least 2 or 3 out of those 5 OT losses.
I agree. And I just want to touch base on this real quick. I said something to you about it before the show, but I just want everyone else to hear it. The fact that multiple teams below the Avalanche have better records than them and they're still in first place just proves exactly why I hate Gary Bettman's point system. It's stupid. I think standings should be based solely off records, but I'll digress because we can go down a rabbit hole with that and we won't. But I just wanted to say it while we were recording too, because I said it to you earlier. As far as the OT struggles go, it's kind of one of those things, at least from my standpoint, of what do you do here? Because I mean, is it a matter of the other teams are just getting lucky bounces? Is Colorado really just shit in the bed in overtime? Like what is it coming down to? And this is a dangerous team. Like it's not like they're squeaking. Like it's not like they're a bad team.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of is what they need to do.
And obviously not having Mackenzie Blackwood right out of the gate has not been ideal for them. But again, it's still something that needs to be addressed. And I completely agree. The NHL needs to ditch the point system. Just do wins and losses with tiebreakers built into the standings. You don't need to do this goofy points thing. I do think it kind of numbs people to the idea of losing a game in overtime. It's almost like if you make it to overtime, you're like, well, at least we're going to get something out of it instead of being hungry for that win. So I don't like the mindset it kind of forces or kind of trains fans into having. So I think you're 100% right. I'd rather have a win and loss system. And I don't think we'll get it as long as Gary Bettman's in charge, but that may also not be for that much longer. So who knows?
Unless he lives to be like 109.
Yeah, well, for all the things he's done great for this league, there are plenty of things that he has not done so well. But That's a different conversation for a different time. Another kind of surprise I wanted to get to is Montreal. I mean, I'll be the first to say it and eat shit for this. I mean, I didn't think they'd be bad this season. I just thought with the amount of talent building around them in the East that they'd have such an uphill battle against more experienced teams. But to this point, they're 9-3 out of the gate. They look incredible. All their lines are going. They're getting pretty solid goaltending. Everything just seems to be working in their manner or in their favor. Sorry. And as we record, they're in the middle of a 3-game winning streak right now. So a very pleasant surprise. Montreal has just been shooting the lights out, and you know how that arena gets going when that team's good. So if these guys keep this up, that's going to be a hard team to play all season long. So that should be an interesting one to keep an eye on. And kind of the same for the Penguins too. I mean, they didn't really change much, and they kind of went into this season with the mindset everyone went into this season with the mindset of the Penguins are be really the only team that's not trying to get better. But here they are; they got the same amount of points as Montreal. They're looking really solid. Both of these clubs are, and I would say they're both pleasant surprises. Although on paper, I guess it kind of makes more sense that Montreal is doing this well. But both of these clubs, I would say, are very pleasant surprises with just how well they're doing. Not only are they playing good, but they're playing extremely well.
I got to say, I'm more the Habs aren't as surprising to me. I think the Penguins are what's surprising me more right now. But real quick, before I forget my thought, I just want to say I said this. I don't remember which episode it was this year, but when we were talking about the Canadians, I think it might have been our East preview. I'm telling you, Demidov is going to be one of the. But I'm going to take it a step further. Is going to be one of the best players in the league within a few seasons. I guarantee it. I'm saying it now, and I know everybody thinks I have all these hot takes, but guess what? A lot of times my hot takes come right. I don't think it's a hot take at all, honestly. I think he's that talented. He's fast. He's just an all-around great player, and he's playing for a Montreal team that's thriving right now. I just don't see any other way this goes for him.
Yeah. Cole Caulfield needs to be on the Olympic team, by the way.
Yeah,
on the U.S. Olympic team.
I was going to call Cole Caulfield next.
Also, real quick, just some breaking news. Yes, in yesterday's Leafs and Flyers game, Chris Tanev took a really nasty, had a really nasty collision with Matvei Mishkov. It wasn't dirty or anything; it was just a bad collision. The Leafs announced that he was discharged from the hospital and he should be able to return to the lineup. So, no serious injury for him. It looks like he'll be okay. So. Very relieving to see after he was stretchered off the ice in last night's game.
Yeah, that's always good to see. Good to see that he's okay to return.
Yeah,
he gets stretchered off the ice.
Yeah.
But with Cole Caulfield, look, man, I can't stand the fact that he plays for Montreal because Montreal is one of the teams in the league I just cannot stand. And part of it comes from watching them whoop Boston's ass for so many years, and part of it is just how aggressive their fan base is, which is a good thing as far as your fan base goes. But I can't stand that he plays for Montreal just because of how good he is. And I agree, he needs to be on the Olympic team. This kid is unreal. And I mean, he has been since he first set foot in the league. So you go Wisconsin boy as far as school goes.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
Wisconsin Badger, yeah.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, I mean, that kid, sky's the limit for that kid, man. And I mean, he's one of those where I don't see any other route from him. He's going to be a franchise. He's just going to be a franchise player for them for his whole career. I would hope. As much as I can't stand seeing him play for Montreal at this point, this is where I would hope he spends his career.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's just become such a huge part of that organization. To let him go anywhere else would be crazy. I mean, he's one of the best in my opinion. I love Cole Caulfield. I loved watching him when he was in college, and he's great, man.
Yeah, definitely a cool player, and very fortunate again that he's a U.S. born player, so we get to have him on our team. If Bill Guerin is wise enough to put him on the Olympic team, which I think now, he missed the cut on Four Nations, but it is what it is. There's just no way he's not on this Olympic team, man. There's just no way. Yeah. But we'll see what happens going forward. So yeah, definitely. Again, Montreal and Pittsburgh, both teams pleasantly surprised to see how high up in the standings they are, given what my own thoughts were. Two teams that we kind of expected. The other two we haven't discussed: Winnipeg and New Jersey. I mean, we know the story with Winnipeg by now. We know they're stacked. They're going to dominate the regular season. For them, it's a matter of playing the regular season to get to the playoffs. But this team's so good that, barring something catastrophic, I mean, they're going to be right up near the top all season long. They're just as good, if not better, than they were last year. Kyle Connor, by the way, yesterday's game against Pittsburgh, absolute clinic that guy puts on. A beautiful penalty shot goal that he had. That was pretty. But yeah, the Jets are rolling right now, and I don't think anything's going to slow them down. And one prediction I got right thus far was Jersey. They're as good as advertised. They're healthy now. They're getting Markstrom going finally. He just is coming off of a 43 save performance last night, I believe against LA. And so Jersey's starting to, get some traction under them now with a healthy roster, and it's kind of exciting to see.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with Jersey, but on that same note, I don't really think there's too many people that disagreed with that. I think we all know what Jersey's capable of, as they're showing it, obviously. But I think before this, we all knew what they were capable of. And Markstrom's really got this opportunity to be one of the best goaltenders in the league, and I don't even think that's up for debate. I will say, I've never thought Sheldon Keefe was a bad coach per se. I thought he got a bad rap in Toronto, and I think a lot of that had to do with just Toronto as a whole. But that being said, he's kind of, I don't know how to word this proper. There's not really a good way for me to word this. He's kind of soft as a coach. I don't think he's I'm not saying you need to be a hard ass all the time. I think you just need to be a hard ass enough. And I don't think he does that, but he's having success right now in Jersey. And like I said, when he ended up leaving Toronto, I think a change of scenery would be good for him. And it looks like it is. But I also think the team he's coaching is helping significantly in that, because this team also kind of reminds me of the Panthers when they were under Brunette, where they're good enough where they can almost coach themselves too. So I've been very impressed by Jersey, and I really hope they can keep it up throughout the remainder of the season, because I'd really like to see what a healthy Devils team can do come playoff time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's important to note for Keefe too. I mean, his years with Toronto were his first year's coaching in the NHL as a head coach, especially of an organization that big. But he came into the league and had to coach some really high-end talent players. And so there's going to be growing pains. And while it didn't work out at all during his tenure there, I think they had just the one playoff series win. But I think, again, a fresh look with a new franchise with, equally as elite talent, I would argue, between that top six in Jersey's nuts. Any of those guys, Hughes, Hischier, Brott, any of those guys are just as talented. I would put him up against Matthews, Nylander, Marner when he was there, Tavares. So he's definitely been fortunate enough to coach some really high-end skilled players, but I think having a fresh look and again, new environment has helped him. And I think the one thing Jersey's got a leg up on Toronto with is that Markstrom's an incredible goaltender. And Keefe never really had that in Toronto. They had some pretty solid goaltending from time to time, but they never had anybody who was as elite or capable of being elite like Markstrom is. So I think Keefe now with a healthy roster, I mean, we could really see this guy show his stuff now that he's got the right roster. If these guys stay healthy into the playoffs, now I want to see what this guy can do. He's had plenty of runs that have not been successful, but with a healthy Devils team, I think he might be able to start carving a path to success.
Well, I think aside from a healthy, this is an aggressive Devils team too. That's the thing. I mean, these guys are fierce competitors.
Yeah, man. And they fly. They're a really good skating team, man. They're really skilled. Just wait till Quinn Hughes goes there.
Dude, man, I'm telling. Look, I think it's inevitable at this point that it is eventually going to happen. And
I wouldn't go that far, but I did just want to fire up Canucks fans by saying that.
Look, man, I'm gonna stand firm on this one. I think it will happen. Will it happen this season? Probably not, but I do think at some point it's going to happen, and rightfully so. Canucks fans and the organization will probably lose their shit, but it is what it is. That's hockey, baby. And real quick before we continue, I just want to take a minute to talk to everybody listening directly. So our Jeff Rimmer episode was the most downloaded episode we've ever have since the inception of this show. And I just want to say to the thousands of you that downloaded and listened to it and took the time to sit down, just listen to our show, from the bottom of my heart. And I know Brian echoes this as well. Thank you. And I can't even put into words how much we appreciate that. It just means the world to us. Again, we were just two random guys that decided to start talking hockey. So the fact that many of you wanted to give us a chance and hear us, I'm more appreciative than I can ever put into words. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
Yeah, definitely. It was, first of all, the experience itself was like surreal. It was just really cool to speak with somebody who has been around the game for so long and got to be, the number one name for calling Blue Jackets games. Like it was a really neat experience to be around somebody like that. Just, even when we talked with them a little bit, when we weren't recording, it was just really nice to sit down with somebody who knows the game so well, been around the game so long, and is just as friendly as Jeff was. We couldn't have asked for a better guest to have on. He was just so great. So that was definitely really cool. Yeah.
And I'm proud. I've been talking with him since we've been done recording that episode. I've been keeping in contact. He was very insistent to us that we keep in contact with him, and I have been. And he's just an all around great guy. And I'm proud to call him a friend of the show, and I'm looking forward to having him back on once his book comes out. So that was fun. I just wanted to make sure that we address that because.
And to our new listeners, welcome.
Yeah, seriously, all those of you that are, that was your first episode and you're coming back. One, we appreciate that, and two, welcome. We're excited to have you here, and we're just out here to talk hockey and have a good time. We're not here to divide anybody or anything like that. This is the hockey community, and we love it. We want to keep it that way.
Yep. So, all right. I know these teams are not in the top 5, but it is worth mentioning how good of a start Utah is off to. They are playing outstanding. In conjunction with their great play, they've also extended superstar forward Logan Cooley to an 8-year, $10 million per year contract. That's going to age magnificently. Cooley, I watched him play college at Minnesota. This kid's an outstanding hockey player. He's got an unbelievable set of hands, and he's got a really good shot. And he's going to be a problem for the Central Division for years to come. This kid is really good, and his hard work pays off with a $80 million contract.
Yeah, dude. Every time I hear these numbers, I'm like, dude, that's just insane money.
It's a lot of money. But you see what these kids, these guys do on the ice, and it's like, well, I guess.
Well, and I mean, you think about it, hockey players are the lowest paid athletes. So, I mean, these are astronomical numbers, but you look at what guys in like the MLB and the NFL, because this is a football show, what those guys make. I mean, these are they're making pennies compared to what those guys make. So
baseball's broken and stupid and doesn't have a salary cap. Guys just get these exorbitant contracts. But like you said, this is a football show anyway. So I mean, we only care about sports with salary caps. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think not to get off topic, but really, I just gotta say the Dodgers are a textbook example of why every sport should have a salary cap. There's no honor in buying a championship. So anyway,
and if you can do it, great. But I don't know. To me, it's kind of a Mickey Mouse league. Look, baseball had to change the rules because the games were taking too long. I think that tells you a lot of what you need to know of the sport. And as much as I like watching baseball, like when they introduced the pitch clock, I was like, oh, thank God these games won't take 4 fucking hours while the guys are grabbing their junk on the mound and got to adjust their batting gloves 30 times between pitches.
Ryan Braun.
Yeah, what's weird when I said that he was the guy I pictured for both Brewers fans. And that was the one I think. In baseball, it's as fun as it is to watch. Cutting the games down to 2.5 hours or just a little bit under, just
best thing the league ever did.
Best thing they ever did, because the sport was starting to become unwatchable. And once they implement a salary cap, I assume in the next couple of years, as it seems that's the direction they're heading, it'll be a lot better. But yeah, definitely a sport that needs a little love to be more watchable. And baseball purists will probably vomit or scream at just listening to this, but it's just reality. I mean, it's just what it is. Just in the same way hockey purists don't like that fights are becoming rarer and rarer each season. It's kind of the same thing. It's a change for the better. Like with hockey, the best example is the hits in the fighting are way down because the speed and skill of the game is so much higher now. The guys are so fast. It's harder and harder to line guys up for hits. The skill's so crazy. You don't want to try and line up a big hit because if you miss, this guy's going to be, gone and on a breakaway in, a split second. So, and again, as a fan of the sport, I'm glad to see that's the direction hockey's trending. And I do like the bruising, the heavy hits and the fighting, but the speed and skill is way more exciting part of the sport.
Yeah, I know. I think we're definitely, at least in our time, in our lifetimes, we're in the most exciting era of hockey that we've ever watched.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's not to say previous eras weren't good, but the skill on display is just so much better. These guys are incredible athletes. They're all in really good shape, and yeah, there's just nothing like it. I mean, you can't find this level of skill and fitness in really any other sport. So not to glaze hockey too hard, but it's just the reality. And again, to go back to what our point was earlier with baseball, is it's just like they need to continue to find ways to make the game better, to make it more watchable. I mean, part of the reason hockey has grown so much in the last decade and a half is that they've made changes to the game that make it faster, more exciting, more fun to watch. Although I say that, and they still haven't fucking figured out these coaches' challenge reviews, but that's a completely different problem. But in a general sense, they've made the game much more marketable, much more fun to watch in the last 15 years. And there's still a lot of work to be done, but it's in a way better spot now than it was, as recently as 20 years ago.
Yeah, and as much as everybody dislikes Gary Bettman, through all his flaws and all his faults, he has done a lot of good for the NHL. So I mean, you do have to give the guy some credit eventually. He has done things to improve the game and bring more awareness to the sport. Hockey's the biggest it's ever been right now. So
you hit all the perfect buzzwords for this segue. Giving credit is perfect, because I need to give credit to somebody I know very well. Before this season started, or I guess technically right after it started, we did an Eastern Conference preview. And in that Eastern Conference preview, one of the guys on this show, and it wasn't me, said that he would take the Red Wings over the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we are over 10 games in, and Tampa Bay is 25th in the league, and Detroit is 8-4, which is good for 7th in the league. And they are looking pretty solid. Obviously not perfect, but they are significantly better so far than they were last year. And they look every bit better than Tampa Bay that they could possibly be right now.
Yeah, I'm not here to say I told you so to anybody, but when I say, what's that?
I said, but
when I say these things on here, I'm not just saying shit to hear myself speak. These are my opinions, and I truly think that Detroit, just looking at the team on paper, like even last year, I was like, this team should have been better than what they were. And now they're following through on it this year. They look good. McClellan's got this team looking like a dangerous competitor right now, man. And he's another guy where a change of scenery is what he needed. And I'm really happy for Detroit right now. We have some friends that are diehard Detroit fans. They're loving it right now. I've been getting texts from them every time the Wings have been playing. It's looking good right now, and I think this is what you need out of Detroit, because if they have another letdown season, now you start to question, all right, was Steve Yzerman the right move for the Detroit Red Wings organization? It was all about the vibes of Steve Yzerman's coming home, and look what he did in Tampa. Because make no mistake, those Cup teams, those were Yzerman's teams. I that's worth noting right there. But for those Cup teams in Tampa were Yzerman's teams. But it started to become a question of, all right, well, what is the Yzer plan and when's it going to start to work? I think everything's coming together now. They're starting to look good. Am I going to say they're a Cup contender right now? No. If they keep playing this way, I'd say I'll have a different point of view come playoff time. But I'm very impressed, and thank you to the Detroit Red Wings for making me not look like a complete imbecile.
Yeah, meanwhile the Tampa Bay Lightning are playing like imbeciles.
Yeah, well, and that's what we talked about.
Now, I should say they have won 4 in a row, but they tripped and stumbled out of the gate, and they have looked better in the last couple of weeks. But again, let's wait, and again, we can revisit this in a month or so when they've played another 10 games and see where they're at. I mean, I don't envision Tampa being a bottom 10 team like they are right now. They're too skilled, but do they have enough traction to catch back up to everybody and then blow past them in the standings? We'll see.
Well, and so one of my
I lost you for a second.
Is a huge Tampa Bay Lightning fan, which is wild since we're in Ohio. You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. You dropped off for a sec.
Oh, okay. There's that awesome internet again. But one of my coworkers is a Tampa Bay fan, and that's wild because we're in Ohio. But even he said, he goes, I've watched every game, and it's just they look defeated every time they come out on the ice. He goes, I know it's the beginning of the season, so I'm not going to harp on them. And he goes, but they've got to pick up the pace. And he goes, if nothing else, we have Andrei Vasilevsky in net. And I was like, that's a good point. But at some point, you can have the best goalie in the world, but you got to ice a good team in front of them. And if the team in front of them's playing like crap, there's only so much that your goalie's going to do for you. So, I mean, we got to give this more time, obviously, because like you said, I don't envision them being a bottom 10 team. I would be shocked if that's how the season ended for Tampa.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, they're just too good. And one point I missed now looking at my notes too. We were talking about Utah. They're off to a really good start. But before the season started, I said my concern for them was their goaltending, and it still is an issue. Karel Vejmelka has been terrible, but Utah has been able to score at will and cover up his blemishes. But he's still not good. So that is something Utah will need to address. But for the time being, obviously they're 8-3, and you can't complain with a record like that. You're a top 10 team in the league. Everything seems to be going well. But again, if the team is going to have ambitions to obviously make the playoffs and want to go on a run, and as any team should, but you're not going to do that with your starting goalie having an .891 save percentage. It's just not good enough. He's it's funny that he's 6-2, but truthfully, he can't stop anything. And if they're going to have any hopes of making a deep run against some really good teams in the Western Conference, as loaded as it is, specifically the Central Division, that this is something that they're going to have to address. There's just no way around it.
It's very reminiscent of 2022 Darcy Kemper.
But even he was better than this. I mean,
That's true.
That Colorado team didn't allow a ton of shots either. And again, they were a team that could score at will. But yeah, I think this is an even more extreme example of it, because with Darcy Kemper, I always felt like his percentage was low. It definitely was, but the timeliness of his saves were good. Vejmelka just can't fucking stop anything. But again, that offense is just so potent that it's been able to save them from themselves. So we'll see how it's addressed going forward, if it is at all. But again, this could be a situation where I could see this being the downfall of their season, if there is a downfall of their season.
We'll find out.
All right, let's see. A couple more things to point out before we take our break and come back and talk about the league's basement dwellers. Between our previous show and this one, Sidney Crosby crossed the 1,700 point plateau, which is just yet another accolade in his illustrious career. I mean, every time he does anything, I'm just like this. He's just another step closer to being able to bypass the 3-year waiting window for the Hall of Fame. He's just so good. So good for Sid. And as if he needed any more accolades, I mean, there's a good chance he could be adding another Olympic medal to his trophy cabinet in a couple of months. Hopefully it's not a gold one, but silver will look just fine in his cabinet. I promise it'll look just fine. But Sid, it just continues to defy time and never looks like he loses a step. I mean, it's funny, that watching the Penguins play, I had the Jets and Penguins on yesterday as my wife and I were unpacking stuff, and just watching him play, he still plays like he's 25. It's just crazy that he's still this good. But that's what happens. He takes care of himself. He works out religiously and takes great care of his body, and it's obviously paid dividends for his career.
Yeah, and I aside from that too, he's just such a nice guy. Everybody loves him, and it's funny to me how we all grow and mature and change our opinions on things. Because if we'd been doing this show 10 years ago and we were talking about Sidney Crosby, I'd be ripping on him. Sidney
Crosby, Crybaby Crosby. Yeah. And as a player himself, I mean, the skill has never not been there for Sid. He's been good since he stepped into the league, but his emotional and mental maturity on the ice is definitely shown. And I think in the last decade alone, he's really won over even more fans than he had before. He's just such a lovable guy. And again, a guy who loves the game so much that, again, who's in better shape in this league than Sid? You probably maybe 2 or 3 guys, but he's got the skill that none of them do, which makes him such a unicorn. So very cool to see him continue to be a superstar, just no matter how old he is. And we'll see where this Penguin season takes them. Again, we kind of talked like it'd be kind of cool to have like a last dance sort of season with these guys since Malkin's done after this year. And you know what? As much shit as I talked about him, man, Tristan Jarry has actually performed quite well for the Pens to this point this season. So good on him. That's a guy who badly needs it, because that's a fan base who was tired of his shit too. So glad to see him rebounding. And again, because it's going so well for him, it's going well for the Pens, and they have a really good record as a result.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, at this point, since they're doing better than we thought they were going to, this is one of those you kind of just sit back and enjoy watching the run, see where it ends up.
Yeah, Tristan Jarry, 923 save percentage right now. I mean, he's just unbelievable.
Yeah, so. I mean, and that's what they needed out of him. So obviously it's paying dividends for them. So, I mean, it's just a matter of, will they keep this up?
Yeah, I certainly hope they. And honestly, that's going to be the thing that makes or breaks their season. Clearly, they still have the skill within their skating or within their skaters. So, yeah, if they can get saves, that'll make all the difference for them. It's weird. The top 3 in that division right now is New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Columbus, which we'll get to the Jackets later.
Yeah.
But yeah, just very fascinating to see these standings. The top 3 in the Atlantic is Montreal, Detroit, Ottawa. Everything just looks kind of silly right now, but I'm sure some things will straighten out. Like Seattle's number 3 in the Pacific right now. That's not going to last. Or it may, you never know. Right. But I think LA will pick up the pace a little bit more. I think, Anaheim's been a very pleasant surprise too. At some point this season, we're going to have to talk about them and the growth they're continuing to have, and Leo Carlson shooting the lights out. So that'll be another group we have to talk about some point down the road. Couple contracts real quick, too, that we missed since our last show. Thomas Harley extending with Dallas 8 years, $10.6 million per year. It's just a squeeze under 10.6, but for the purposes of the show, we're not going to split hairs. Harley is coming to his own really in the last year and a half, 2 years, and wow, has he become such a good defender. He was great for Canada at Four Nations. He's been great for the Stars. I've really dogged on the Stars for their lack of defensive depth, which has kind of been the downfall of their last few seasons that haven't gotten them to the Stanley Cup final. But Thomas Harley, along with Miro Heiskanen, has really been a driving force in the defensive core. And again, another guy who gets a big payday as a result of his elite level of play.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I mean, Dallas as a whole just looks exactly like we thought they would anyway. But to focus on Harley specifically, I think anything less in this situation would have kind of been a slap in the face. I say he's earned every penny of this, so I'm happy for him. I guess he does play for Dallas, who I don't care for, but nevertheless, I mean, a well-deserved contract.
Yeah, everything seems to be clicking right for Dallas now. The only thing they need to change is them damn jerseys, man. Until they go back to the ones with the star-shaped striping on them, I will not rest, because the jerseys they have now are just brutal. The whole uniform's a mess, but yeah, they got to go back to the ones with the star-shaped striping, man. Those are killer. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, so moving on to another team that had a big contract. Marty Necas extends in Colorado 8 years there as well, $11.5 million per year, which that was met with a lot of ire by some fans who were like, really, Brandon wanted 12 and you lost him over essentially $500,000 because they gave Necas 11.5. So while I agree with that sentiment that if that was really the difference between signing Rantanen and not, that's a pretty hard fumble to bag by Colorado. And for the things that they still have to address to be as good as they can be, they get Necas extended after a little bit of uncertainty of if he was going to stay there or not. He's playing extremely well. So obviously a contract like this is a bargain in the world where the cap's going up. And again, every time I see these deals now, it's starting to hurt more and more seeing what the Kirill deal was for the Wild. But again, the Wild are in a spot where they just had to sign him. They simply could not afford to lose a player as good as he is. So different scenarios for sure. But in this case with Colorado, the Necas deal, that's good. It seems like everybody's happy now and there's no more drama with that. And to me, that hopefully translates to, okay, the on-ice product is going to be even more elevated now because there's no background noise. Everybody's signed. They need to get Blackwood back in net healthy. But this team is as good as anybody.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And, you know, I think part of this, you brought up the Rantanen scenario. I think they're kind of at a spot where they're trying not to make that same mistake twice. And I think there was also more factors that went into the whole Rantanen situation. I think he was also at a point where he just kind of wanted out, which I'll never understand why. Like I said, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But I think this is, you know, evident that they're trying not to make the same mistake twice. And again, this is a steal for them, for lack of a better term. So I think that it would have been stupid for them to pass up on the opportunity to keep him around, especially with the potential that this team has in front of it. I just don't see why you would let a guy leave like this. Yeah, it was definitely a strange situation, but that they had with Rantanen, but it seems like all things will work out for the better now. Again, Rantanen's going to continue to be their boogeyman. That's just a bet that they've made and have to lay in, but by no means. And clearly, I mean, they're first in the standings, albeit with the goofy overtime point, but they're first in the standings for a reason, and they're not going to be an easy out. Even if Rantanen's going to be their boogeyman for probably the rest of his career, it's not like they're going to be a slouchy team. That are just going to be pushovers. They're still insanely elite. They still have Nathan MacKinnon, who's better than anybody on his own team and anybody on Dallas. So, I mean, they have that going for them, but it'll be an interesting, it's going to be a great rivalry these next several years for sure. Unless you have any other thoughts, I think we're probably ready to take a break then. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll do our break now. We'll hear from our friends at Xenopucks. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the league's basement dwelling bottom 5 teams in the standings. And then we'll do a Blue Jackets corner to wrap the show. This is the Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast.
It's hockey season, and you're looking to work on your stick handling or maybe even your shot, but ice time just isn't an option for you right now. Luckily, our buddies over at Xenopucks have got you covered. They've developed an elite off-ice practice puck that, in addition to looking like the real thing, is the same size and weight as a regulation hockey puck to give you that authentic feel on the end of your stick. It works better than other off-ice practice pucks on almost any surface, whether you use it on hardwood, carpet, concrete, or even asphalt. Xenopucks glide like a real puck on ice. So if you're looking to improve your game without setting foot on the ice, head over to www.xenopucks.com and get yourself a puck. Check out their merch selection and be sure to follow them on Instagram at Xenopucks.
All right, and welcome back. So, as we mentioned right before the break, we're going to now transition over to the opposite side of the standings, and we'll take a look at the teams that have really run into some trouble out of the gates here. So, we will start at team number 28 in the standings. So, the New York Islanders so far 5-5-1. I don't think in this case the Islanders, the standings are indicative of the team as a whole. I know it hasn't been perfect there, but like the play of Schaefer's been such a bright spot for them. It's kind of hard to dwell on anything. We know they're not an elite team or anything like that. I mean, I kind of really leaned into them when we did our conference preview. But his play so far has been good, and it's made them at least watchable. So even though they're in the bottom of the standings, I first of all think it's early enough in the season that if they can find some kind of chemistry here, that they could actually move up a bit in the standings and potentially fight for a playoff spot now that we've seen them play a little bit. But I think either way, this is the things aren't as bad as the standings seem for the Islanders. I'll just put it that way.
I think that's a good way of putting it. I mean, do I think they're a playoff caliber team or anything? Not at all. But I don't think they're a bottom 5 in the league type of team as we're seeing now. But I mean, this is one of those things where it's still early in the season, and there's obviously you got plenty of time and plenty of room for adjustment. So just little things they need to work on. I think it'll bode a little bit better for them. But I mean, ultimately, this team isn't a team I see making the playoffs. But I don't see them finishing this low in the standings.
Yeah. So we'll see how things track for them. But again, especially with, again, such a young player like Schaefer, I mean, he just looks awesome so far. So we'll see how things go for them. But I don't want to beat up on them, especially when I look above them and I see like Vancouver, who's had some struggles, and I see Nashville, who has really, really just kind of imploded. And, a team like Buffalo, who's not that great either. I think there are teams around them, even though they have a better record, that are in far worse situations. So this is one I don't want to put too much stock into, because I really just think there are better days ahead, even though the Islanders aren't a great team on paper yet.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right. Next on the list is Minnesota, who, as a fan of the team, I cannot believe how piss poorly this team has played to start this season. They are 2-5-3 in their last 10. They won yesterday against Vancouver, but had lost their 5 prior games. They're in the middle. They are actually now at the end of their longest homestand of the season. They have 1 game left in it, and so far they're 1-4 on the homestand. So the Gary Bettman overtime loser point has saved their record from being more embarrassing than it is, but essentially they're 4-9. And outside of blowing the doors off of St. Louis on opening night, they have just been terrible. Their power play is excellent, but they have the worst penalty kill in the league. Percentage wise, it's 60%. It's terrible. Again, they had a perfect night against Vancouver last night, but worst penalty kill in the league. They turn over the puck like crazy at 5-on-5, and it's everybody. It's up and down the lineup, and really it's been an alarmingly high amount from the superstar players like Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy. On defense, Zeev Buium, even though he's a rookie, has made a lot of very reckless plays that have cost them. Brock Faber said himself that he needs to step his game up and needs to be better. And, again, as a fan of the team, I know he can be. But this team is playing into some dangerous territory where it's starting to look like they might be the first team to fire their coach this year. They are just a mess all up and down the ice. Jesper Wallstedt, who is now the team's full-time backup with the big club, has been okay, but again, the team hasn't been playing great in front of him. Gustafsson simply hasn't been good enough. And while Kirill Kaprizov continues to fill out the score sheet, again, his play and his responsible play with the puck has been very lackluster. He's made a lot of reckless turnovers, including one that cost them an overtime loss to San Jose. And so it's bad right now. And the Wild are trending towards, again, a team that's going to fire their coach. So unless they really make a hard turn here and right the ship and, go win 8 out of 10 or whatever in the next little bit here, this is a team that's really going to let this season slip away pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, especially making that huge Kaprizov signing in the offseason. I mean, just given the team as a whole, there were much higher expectations for this team coming into the season, and they're just not delivering right now. And I at this point, I do believe they are at a spot where the right move is to fire the coach. I'm not always a fan of using the coach as the easy scapegoat, but I think that's actually the problem at this point.
Yeah, well, and skill-wise, this team has the players to be a good team. I mean, again, they were in first place at one point last season before everybody started getting injured. I mean, they can win with this group. They can, and they have made some improvements to their game. The last several years have been a terrible team in the faceoff dot. They've made improvements there this year. The play of Marco Rossi has continued to step up, which is good after the deal they signed him to. Joel Eriksson Ek's been getting better in the faceoff dot as well. There have been some bright spots for the team, but this team is simply too good to be this bad. And so as a fan of the team, obviously it's frustrating, but as a hockey fan, it's almost confusing to watch a group that's this skilled and was still really good last year be fourth from last in the entire league.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%, man. And, I'm sorry that you have to sit through and watch it.
No, a couple of these games I've turned off in the third period because I've been exhausted, and I just gone back and watched the highlights later to see what I quote unquote missed. I don't know if I'd say I'm missing anything, but it's got to be better. As a fan of the team, it's as simple as that. It has to be better, whether it starts with coaching or in the locker room. It's simply not acceptable. And I didn't even talk about David Jiricek's play, which has actually been either really good or really bad. It seems like each game. I can't decide with him. His skating's better too, but I just can't decide with him. But Bouillon, who for all of this hype right now, he really needs to iron out his defensive responsibilities. His playmaking ability is great. I don't question that, but his defensive game's got to step up. So we'll see where the Wild head from here. San Jose is the next one. And again, we know the story with the Sharks. This is an all vibe season. These young stars they have are really starting to explode into some elite top end talent. The record obviously still doesn't indicate that. Askarov is continuing to grow in his role as an NHL starter. But you see the play of guys like Celebrini and Smith, and the future is going to be bright. But until they iron out that back end and Askarov really solidifies his game, there's still going to be growing pains. So the Sharks are kind of, I think, in a situation like the Islanders where the record's not really indicative that there are signs of improvement, but there are signs of improvement here for sure. And it didn't seem like that based on the way the season started either. I mean, what did they start out the season? They lost their first, 6 games or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it stunk to start the year, but they're really starting to piece things together and kind of find some chemistry. So I'm glad we're doing this now instead of a week ago, because a week ago they were still in the pits, but the vibes are starting to get better there.
Yeah, and we knew they would. We've talked about this. There's hope here for this team. They've got some tools at their disposal. I'm still convinced that this season for them will be a significant improvement compared to last season. And obviously, like you said, rough start to the year, but they're starting to pick up the pace a little bit. The pieces are starting to come together a little bit. So I think that they're moving in the right direction still. And I mean, you can argue every team always somewhat has I don't want to say a rocky start to the season, but you're kind of shaking off the rust a little bit, no matter who you are. So and for a team that struggled last year, to start the season off still struggling wasn't a huge surprise, but I'll be shocked to see if let me rephrase that. If they don't continue on an upward trend, I'll be surprised. I think they have the capability of doing so, and I think anything less than that at this point is a disappointment.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Here's one that actually kind of surprises me to see we're here. St. Louis 3-7-2 so far. They just have not been good. There's no way around it. This is an example, and there's only one team worse than them who's really feeling it right now. But St. Louis, again, since opening night, they go out and get Minnesota blows the doors off of them, and they've just been bad all season. They look like a mess, and I don't know what happened because they were so good, especially down the stretch last year. I mean, they were literally, what was it, 2 seconds away from moving on to round 2 last year in Game 7, and it slips away from them, and now they just have not done anything right out of the gate so far this year.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was talking to one of my buddies last night, and he's a pretty big St. Louis Blues fan, and he's like, "This has been torture watching this team so far." He goes, "I mean, I'm almost at a point where hockey's dead to me right now because I can't even stand watching these guys. It's so rough." He goes, "I don't understand." He said almost what you said verbatim. He goes, "We were 2 seconds away from moving on last year, and then ever since it's just been a complete nightmare, and I don't understand what's happening." And I'm kind of in the same boat as him. You look at the team as a whole, you look at the coach, you look at the guy at the helm. Everything to me says this team has the makings of success on it. And I don't know what's going on. I've watched a couple of their games this year, and they just look dead on the ice. Like, I don't even want to go as far to say as it's like watching a minor league hockey team, because I've seen AHL games that look more impressive than what the Blues have been putting on the ice so far. It's just, and I can't pinpoint one specific problem with it. Like, there's a multitude of issues they have going on here. And so I don't know if it's a chemistry thing they got going on. I don't know what's going on. And it's hard to speculate when you can't see behind the scenes. But what I do know
for me, I gotta say, finish your point actually, because then I'll roll into this.
All right. Well, I was just gonna say I don't know where they go from here. What you do? You have a great coach on paper. They have a decent team. You've got a otherwise solid goaltender. I don't know what's happening with this team.
Well, and there's the magic word, the goaltending. That, to me, that's been the glaring flaw. The scoring hasn't been enough, and I'll just say that they don't have anybody that's really at a point of game. It needs to be better. They need to be able to start filling in the net and getting on the board. Otherwise, you're never going to win games. But Jordan Binnington with an 860 and Joel Hofer with an 829, it's not going to beat an AHL team. So I think the issue is that with Binnington, it's hot or cold with him. He's either the best goalie in the league, see the last 3.5 months of last season, or he's this. And right now he's this. And Joel Hofer is somehow even worse. And it's not going to be enough. Again, the team has to score. They do. But it's also when your goalie's letting in so many, it's hard to have the motivation to get down the ice and get some momentum going and score, because when you're playing from down 2 and down 3, or every time you tie it up, you're letting in another one 2 minutes later. That's where it starts to run away from you. And for the Blues, it's not acceptable. You know what the team's capable of. You yourself said it too just now. It's not a bad team on paper. It shouldn't be bad, or it shouldn't be this bad. And so I think the solution here is you got to do something to wake these goaltenders up. Joel Hofer's not a bad goalie. Jordan Binnington is capable of being an outstanding goalie. One of these two's got to wake up and grab the reins here and get this thing back on track. Otherwise, the Blues are going to be finding themselves in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes before too long.
Yeah, no kidding.
So the only team that is having it worse than the Blues right now, though, is the Calgary Flames. And similar to St. Louis last year with being so close to making round 2, the Flames just missed out on making the playoffs and have opened up this season in just the most catastrophic way possible. They sit 2-9-2, so 2-11 in the standings. Nothing is going right for this team. They have a minus 18 goal differential. It's not been perfect, even a little, in any facet, really. I mean, it came to Dustin Wolf even saying himself, like, hey, I can't generate offense. Like, and his play has not been great. He's been an 881. And his play's not been great, but this team can't fucking score. I mean, they just cannot. They can't seem to do anything right. Sharon Govich has been terrible, a guy that you would expect to get a little bit out of. Jonathan Huberdeau hasn't been great. Matthew Coronado has not been great. He's a minus 13, which is, God. Yeah. Ironically, as far as I can see here, Kevin Ball, who I dumped on before this season, looks like the only guy on the team that's not a minus or 0. Oh no, somebody else says Morgan Frost is a +1, but Kevin Ball's a +3. I think that's funny. The only guy I dumped on is the only one that's a plus. But the scoring is non-existent with this team. Nazem Kadri leads the charge with 10 points in 13 games. Blake Coleman's got 5 goals in 13 games, but this just isn't enough. This team needs to be able to score, and while I agree with Dustin Wolf's sentiment that he can't physically score the goals himself, being an 881 is not good enough either. And the defensive play in front of him is far from perfect, but you've got to be better, especially after signing that big contract. Devin Cooley has come in behind him and has had a couple of good outings. He's had a 933, but his sample size is really small too. So I'm not going to be quick to make any judgment, especially for a guy who's likely still going to be a backup in the long run anyways. But for the Flames, I mean, I just can't imagine this season being any worse for them than it is right now.
Yeah, this is a textbook definition of a disaster season. And like I said with everybody else, we're still early on in the season, but this is horrendous, man. Everything about them is just sloppy, undisciplined. Pretty much everything you don't want to see is what the Flames are doing right now. Now, for me, as a guy who cannot stand the Flames, I'm very happy with this. But
damn, what did the Flames do to you? Why are you kicking them while they're down?
I don't like the Flame. You know what it is? I got to be fully honest.
It's because Alberta already has a team. Go Oilers, baby. That's why.
No. Well, yeah. Edmonton is Alberta's team. I don't care what.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna hurt. That is gonna ruffle some feathers. But hey, it's hard to argue against 2-11, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know what, man? I don't live in Calgary, and I'm not a fan of either of those teams, but Edmonton's Alberta's team. And
hey, I know you love. I say I know you love Edmonton. They've given you 2 cups in a row. It's not.
And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, what sparked my dislike for the Flames, and it might sound stupid, but it was the Tkachuk and Huberdeau trade. And I know Weegar was involved in that trade. I didn't give a rat's ass about Mackenzie Weegar when he was on Florida. But when that trade happened, one, I was mad because I thought we were getting hosed initially, like many of us did. And the Calgary fans were just aggressive, running their mouths about how they hosed us and our organization's a joke and always will be. And the sky's the limit for the Flames. And here we are. It worked out the best way it possibly could have in Florida's favor. Huberdeau is 1-0 still, and the Flames have done nothing, and now they look like hell. So I think that's just where it's not a hatred, it's just where the dislike of Calgary came into play for me, was that situation.
That's understandable.
But you know what? Hey, thank you for Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah, I would say, boy, they could sure use a player like Matthew Tkachuk right about now. I can promise that.
You guys can keep Huberdeau. This one's on the house.
All right. Well, we'll stop dumping on them, but yeah, certainly some teams that have work to do, and plenty that we didn't even talk about this show. At some point, I want to get into the mess that the Preds are, and the well, not the Sabres, because I'm pretty much done with them until until their owner decides to start taking his team seriously.
Yeah.
There's several teams we still want to talk about yet that we will address at some point. But now, those of you who are new listeners to our show that listen because of the Jeff Rimmer episode, will be happy to know that at the end of each show, we do a segment just on the Blue Jackets, since we both live in Ohio and follow the team pretty closely. So I think this is a perfect time to move on to that after we just unloaded a truck full of shit onto the Flames. And yeah, let's go into this Blue Jackets corner now. And wow, for all the bad things we just talked about with those 5 previous teams, it is the polar opposite in Columbus right now. This team is nothing but vibes, 11th overall in the standings, 7-3 in their last 10, winners of 4 in a row. Everything that can be going right for the Jackets right now is Jets a 916 save percentage. Elvis is a 915. They both look really good. Elvis looks a lot more comfortable this season. It's not been perfect, but he looks a lot more comfortable this season. His record is really good. So it seems like he's motivated, and I think Jet being as good as he has been motivation for Elvis to be on his game. And he's actually got the better record too. But the scoring is so surprising right now. Marchenko, 11 points in 11 games. Voronkov, 10 points in 11 games. Zach Werenski, of course, 10 points in 11 games. Charlie Coyle, 9 points in 11 games. I mean, you go down the sheet and similar to what we said last season with the Jackets, the contributions are all over this lineup. Only Jake Christensen and Eric Branson, have yet to register a point, and neither of them has played more than 7 games, so their sample sizes aren't as good. But everybody who's been in the lineup for pretty much all their games is scoring, contributing in some fashion. I think, Kent Johnson is really the only name that sticks out to me where I think first of all, I know he has more to give, but he needs to give more to this team. He's too good to only have 4 points in 11 games, and being a -5 is not acceptable. But other than that, that's the one blemish on this team's record. Everything else has just been dynamite for the Jackets out of the gate so far. I have 0 complaints. And I think your mic's muted. Oh, no, I lost Andrew. Oh, no. Well, while I wait to rally and get Andrew back into the recording here, one more thing I wanted to say with the Jackets is that as this team continues to grow, and we talked a little bit about this before the season, but as this team continues to grow and develop chemistry, it'll be fascinating to see who steps up and forces themselves into a bigger role. And I think now they brought over Charlie Coyle. They bring over Charlie Coyle from Columbus, and he's been very good for them. And as much as a bright spot as that's been, again, your homegrown names are the ones that are starting to step up. I still want even a little more out of Adam Fantilli too, but as a whole, there's just not a lot to see wrong with this team. I mean, you can't really nitpick one specific thing that's bad. Again, Kent Johnson, Adam Fantilli, there's more to give there. But they're not bad and the team's not bad. It's just everything seems to be going right for this group. So it's fun to watch these young guys who are coming up together really starting to bud so early in this season.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Also, sorry to everybody. I'm sure there's probably been a change in my audio quality. My computer decided to restart while we were in the middle of this.
Yeah, it sounds like you're chewing on a mustache when you talk right now. But yeah, I noticed I lost you for a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now. And that's just it reminds me of an episode of 32 Thoughts, the podcast with Elliot Friedman.
Oh, when he does the car cast.
The car cast, yeah. So except I'm not in the car. I'm just doing it from my phone because, man, I don't know what's going on with this computer. So that this is the way we're going to roll. But I agree, man. Columbus is honestly exceeding my expectations right now. They look real good. I will say, last Friday I went to the Jackets Caps game and they got absolutely massacred by the Capitals. But the one bright spot in that game was I got to see Ovi score $8.99. So that was nice. But overall, like you said, Elvis, I'm very impressed with how he's looking, and you brought up a good point in the fact that I think Jet's stellar play has kept Elvis motivated to play well too, and it's showing. I mean, the pieces are all coming together very nicely for this team right now, and they're just going in a really nice direction. I think this is going to be a really good season for Columbus, man. I really do, and I hope that's the case because the fans deserve it too.
Yeah. Also, real quick, I want to spotlight Zach Werenski again on the heels of what was an MVP caliber season last year. He's been great this year. He's tied for third most points in the league. Only there's a 4-way tie for second. Hudson, Morrissey, Sanderson, and Adam Fox all have 11 points, and Cale Makar, of course, is ahead of everybody with 18 points, which is hilarious. Cale Makar is almost leading the league in scoring as a defenseman, so obviously he's leading all defensemen. But Zach Werenski has just been incredible. Every time you think this guy is as elite as he can be, he just continues to find ways to impress, and again continues to be the driving force on this team's offense despite being a defenseman. He just moves the puck so well and sees the game so well, and he's never a defensive liability. It's just really, this team's so fortunate to have as an elite of a defender as Zach is. So very, very fortunate to have him on the team. But yeah, man, there's really nothing I can nitpick right now with this group. They really have just gelled so well to this point. The Charlie Coyle addition has just paid dividends so far. He has been so
Yeah.
good.
I knew that was going to be a good move.
And he's done everything expected of him, and he still has not taken a single penalty. Where, like, I look at a guy like Voronkov, who, as good as he's been on the score sheet, he is 14 PIMs so far, which is a little high. Although I do believe, actually, now that I think of it, I think wasn't he the one that got the misconduct that didn't realize that, because he didn't realize he was supposed to be in the box.
Yeah.
So maybe I was thinking of somebody else, but yeah, everybody's play has been good so far. So it's hard to pick on one specific thing, but man, it's just been fun to watch. The vibes have been good. And again, Jet's his save percentage is good, but the losses he has, he just, you got to be able to get him goal support, and Elvis the same way, although he's 4-1. They have to continue to get these guys goal support, and they'll do the rest of the work. A 9-15 goalie in this league is going to win you a championship if you can get him 3-4 goals a night.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think it's a really good time to be a Blue Jackets fan right now. And I mean, as we've seen in years past, whether they're good or bad, the fans are going to show up night in and night out for this team. And it's nice to see them finally delivering. And regardless of what they look like now, too, they got a good prospect system below them. And I still think we're going to still see guys like Luca Del Belbaluz come up and make a name for themselves, too, probably later in the season. And I just there's a silver line. There's a bright spot coming for this team, and I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on how things can continue to go with the Jackets, but at least early on here, the report card's got an A on it, so we'll see where we're at. Again, as we revisit this team week over week, but nothing bad to report now. As they say, no news is good news, and right now it's just just keep going with what's working. I mean, we didn't have sky high expectations coming into this year for the Jackets. So to see them where they are is great. So hopefully, again, as we revisit them week over week, we can continue to talk about how well they're doing, because it's definitely a welcome change to put them up there with some of the top teams in the league.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really nice. So, man, dude, it's every week we do this show, man. I'm like, it's such a great way to spend a Sunday, or Sunday morning, just sitting down and shooting the shit about hockey. I love it.
Yep, totally. So when we'll be back right again next week and doing this now, I'm hoping for the next several months we don't have any hiccups in our podcasting schedule. These last few months have really kind of been chaotic for myself personally. And so I'm hoping now we can continue to just do this week after week without interruption. So, but yeah. With that in mind, we will be back next week. Unless something catastrophic happens, neither of us have anything planned or that we need to attend to next Sunday. So we'll be back to record next Sunday. And again, thanks to everybody who's come in to listen from the Jeff Rimmer episode. We appreciate any new listeners we get. Andrew, where can they find us on social media so they can get us their listener questions? And then please get those questions, and we'd love to answer them.
So if you currently don't, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Fresh Ice Hockey Podcast. You can also follow us on TikTok at Fresh Ice Pod. It was a little stagnant there on TikTok for a while. I didn't get around to posting a lot on there, but I just posted from the Jeff Rimmer episode. I will continue to post on TikTok as well. We don't have an active X or Twitter. I'm just not a fan of that platform and the way it operates, and it's just the algorithms just don't really do much for me. I'm just not a fan of keeping up on there, so we don't really use that. If you want to send us questions for us to answer on the show, or not even a question, if you just got something you want to put out there, it's your opinion, we'd love to hear it. I'd be happy to read it on the show, whether or not we agree with it. We love input. So you can send us an email. The email address is freshicehockeypodcast@gmail.com. Just get your questions in, or any input you want to give us. We'd be happy to read them on the show. And that's it for our contact information.
All right. Well, thanks again for those of you who tuned into this episode, excuse me. And again, we will be back next Sunday with plenty more to talk about. I'm sure by then you and I are going, and my wife are going to see the U.S. and Canada rivalry series game in Cleveland this week. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
That should be a blast. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that on the next show. And we look forward to that, and look forward to having all of you come back and listen to the next episode. We'll see you guys next week.